It's been several days since I've had this lift, and I've been collecting a lot of things trying to figure out how to get this thing to work. And it required 6.5 quarts of hydraulic fluid. And I know this says CarQuest, and you could obviously get it at CarQuest. I happen to buy this at Advanced Auto Parts. 2 gallons. It was like 13 something a gallon. The cheapest I could find it. I don't need a gallon, or excuse me, like a drum of this stuff, or a 5-gallon bucket. So even with this, I still have 1.5 quarts left. You need to be very careful with this unit because it wants to fall backwards when you first get it, because this reservoir here is empty. And when it's full, it's balanced, you know, it's balanced kind of well, but you can see even there it wants to just fall. So it wants to fall over immediately. You got to be very careful with this. And it really sucks when you don't have this thing on here. And I didn't have this on here because when it shipped here, this piece here is actually in with the lift down underneath. I went through hell trying to get a quick release, a quick disconnect, and I got one. And I just installed it. I've had this for several days as well. And what we have here is, this is all new. This was the only way I could figure out how to do it, and I'm hoping it works. I don't see any reason why it wouldn't. These are the same threads. Obviously, that's what this housing is, and it threads into this. Your local hydraulic supply, if you've got a good one, will have these. I don't know. Can't really see. I don't think the camera's going to focus on that, unfortunately. There we go. So if you can read that, that is what you need. And then on the other end here, this is the part that came with the lift right here, and you're going to need to keep that. And then this right here threaded into the housing on the power unit. And then this is also a new piece. So here on back came with it. This is a new piece, quick disconnect. And hopefully this works. One thing I saw on a video is that you want to have this released under no load, no hydraulic pressure when you first start it for 2 seconds. And I think before you shut it off for a full 2 seconds as well. I'm not entirely sure how that would work. I guess it goes down on the locks, but you just, I guess, want to take away pressure. You don't want the unit under pressure, is probably what it is. Plus you want to prime it as well. You don't want to just all of a sudden just bam, which means you probably want to slowly engage that lever. Now this is going to be a little dangerous here, and I don't advise this, but my wire that I bought from Amazon already has a male RV plug on it, and I don't want to cut that off just yet. So instead of cutting that off, I'm going to keep it on there. The other end is just wires. I'm going to wire that up to the dryer outlet, which is also going to be male, and that's going to go into the dryer outlet in the laundry room. So that means you've got a 240 male going into the wall to a 240 male sitting on the ground that's exposed. You do not want to touch that if it's live. I'm going to have the circuit breaker off, which I do now, and I'm going to have this all connected. And I'm going to connect it here first, then into the wall, and then flip the circuit breaker in order to avoid anything. But if you're doing this, you should do it right. I don't know what brand this is. Camco is what it is. This is a 50 amp, 125, 250 volt female head. And I've already gotten I've already stripped the wires and I have them in there tightened down. I have the ground bent back around because I didn't really want to snip it off just in case I would need it. I don't suspect I will. And then I have this part flipped over and some electrical tape wrapped around there to make it thicker to where it actually has some contact on there. And then I'm getting ready to put this back on, just like so, and screw everything back in. And then I've got to add the wire onto, the dryer male replacement head onto the 30-foot wire that I just got. That's 50 amp rating, and it's 6 gauge and 8 gauge. All 6s except for the ground is 8, I believe. I also got I got a 3-wire at first, and then I thought, well, that's kind of dumb because I'm going to be using it for the bandsaw as well, and the bandsaw is probably a 4-wire. This, however, this power unit is a 3-wire 240 volt for whatever reason. Don't know why. The dryer amperage is probably only 30 amps. So that's going to be the limiting factor, which is fine. The wire gauge is way more than it ever needs to be. And this thing only draws 12 to 15 amps, I think, at max. So we're not going to have an issue running this thing. This thing should just fly up. And then when I'm running the bandsaw, I shouldn't have any issue with that thing bogging down because I don't want to burn up the motor. Not going to risk it. So in a little bit, I'm going to have this thing together and up and running if everything goes well.